Hi students, I'm Una.
And I'm Scott.
I'm a PTE teacher from the UK.
I'm also a PTE teacher from the UK.
And we've been helping students pass their exams for years.
And now we're excited to help you pass your exam too.
Welcome to the Swoosh English PTE podcast.
Let's get started. Hi everybody, and welcome to the Swoosh English podcast here for the PTE examination. My name is Scott.
And my name is Una.
And today we're going to go through a listening exercise, highlight correct summary. So what do you think about this task, Una?
Yeah, well, it can be a tough one, this task. 4 different summaries that you have to go through and comb through. You could easily take a lot of time with this.
Very easily. That's why I think there's a lot of really intricate language skills as well as just general summarizing skills that we need to actually assess for this task, because there's a lot of information coming at you very quickly, and basically it can be quite like frenetic and getting it done as quickly as you can, but also having it done as correctly as you can.
Yeah, definitely. It can be. This could be a challenge, but of course we're going to give you lots of tips today, a good method, good strategies in order for you to, get through it and have success.
Yeah, so let's go through it straight away. So shall we start talking about what this task is in terms of an overview?
Of course, yes. So let's get into an overview. So you will get 2 to 3 different questions within this item type on the day.
Yep.
And you will have a 10-second countdown before the audio begins. So we'll get into, when we talk about the method, what you should do within this 10-second time.
Okay.
But just to let you know, that's what you have now.
You also have to do, each prompt will have 4 summaries for you to choose from, and each recording will last between 30 and 90 seconds in total. The summaries do range in length, but they do come between 40 and 60 words for each summary. So there is a fair amount of reading to do on the day as well.
Yeah.
But we want to emphasize that primarily it's listening that is assessed in this after all. There's no writing. You do have to read alongside, but obviously you are listening for the task overall.
Yeah, it affects your listening score.
Okay.
Yes, and how long do you think that students should then spend afterwards?
Well, if you got, say, 30-second summaries nice and short, you should be able to do this task within about 1 minute. Afterwards, 90 seconds, once again, within 1 minute as well.
90 seconds, yeah, 1 minute to 90 seconds.
Yeah, so we'll say 1 minute to 90 seconds in total for you to assess each prompt and highlight that correct summary, because there is plenty of work that you have to do after you've listened to assess that you've chosen that correct summary.
The correct one,
So once again, it comes under the parameters of 2 minutes, 2 minutes and 30 seconds for each prompt to complete.
Of course, yes. So that's an overview. And just to highlight again what exactly it is you have to do, simply listen to a recording and then highlight one of the summaries, which is the correct summary of that recording.
The best and most accurate summary. Some may be incorrect, but one is obviously much better than the others in terms of summarizing that information.
Yes, very good. So how is it scored then?
Scoring is simple for this task. 1 point for each correct summary, 0 points for each incorrect summary that you choose.
Okay.
And also we want to emphasize as well that there is no negative marking for this task. There are most of the tasks in PTE aren't actually negative marking, but we always like to emphasize which ones are and which ones aren't, in case you're confused in the day. You might think, can I answer this prompt?
Well, you only have to choose one thing, so it would be impossible to have
it'd be pretty evil if you actually chose the incorrect summary. -1, how dare you for trying. So that means that, if you don't really know the answer at the end of the day, you may as well hazard a guess, complete blind guess, you're completely not sure, or guess based on the deductions, based on the note-taking you've done and the answer you've chosen.
Yes,
you have a 25% chance of getting it right, even if you answer it
go
completely
for a
blindly. Like, you might get 1 point out of it by laws of averages, I suppose.
Exactly, yeah, you could guess and get lucky. Okay, yeah, so should we just consider some of those questions, in order to consider our overall listening skills?
Yeah, and just some feedback on where students' listening ability is and what maybe they can also do to improve in their own time outside of actually specifically practicing for this task.
So of course, for this task, do you listen and then try to summarize a text? So how are your summarizing skills?
Now, my answer for that would be often you wouldn't be doing that. Why would anyone want to listen to something and go, well, let me see, I'm going to take this main detail and this key topic and try and summarize? That's not really something that's intuitive.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not something that, in case you've been studying general English, for example, you're not really going to do much of this summarizing information. It's a very specific task.
Yeah.
That's why I think it's good to just highlight the importance of this and make it known to the students how to do it. So, any advice on how students could do that in their own time?
So how they go about summarizing?
Yes.
Well, of course, note-taking is essential, especially within a listening task. So if you're listening, you need to make sure you're taking notes, because you're not going to be able to remember all of the details, are you? to be able to then put together an effective
100% no,
summary.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So you need to be able to make sure that you have a good note-taking system. That's really important, you know?
I guess we'll touch more on that note-taking system with our methods. So how good are you at summarizing? We're obviously going to assess that with this task when we get into our method and our tips. What would be the second question you would probably ask students to really elaborate and think about now as well?
Well, in listening, a highlight correct summary, you want to make sure that you're able to listen for gist. That you make sure that you're able to listen and really understand the main topic, and then of course also listening for detail.
Right. So how do we differentiate between listening for gist and listening for detail?
So listening for gist is, of course, just an overall idea of what the topic is. So you could maybe summarize that in one sentence. And then listening for detail is perhaps including some of those more finite details, such as, examples or some statistics, things like this.
Yeah, that's specific information. And obviously, you do have to listen to the sections of a recording and also comb and understand and analyze different words and data within a given text to actually get that information.
Yeah, because there could be, within highlight correct summary, there could be some statistics within that summary.
Yeah, there 100% could be. Yeah,
you need to be able to verify, whether it's correct.
Yeah, is this information relevant for a summmy? Is it not relevant for a summary? So
but when it comes to statistic, it could simply be correct or incorrect.
True.
It could be a distractor, there was a percentage said throughout the recording, and maybe you thought, it won't go into that much detail, but in the summary, there is, a percentage that you need to confirm or deny.
Precisely. Yeah. So are you able to listen for gist? Are you able to listen for detail? Are you able to summarize audios? And also, I guess, as well, is how good is your academic vocabulary as well? It's very essential for this.
So important for any listening tasks, or obviously any task of the PTE exam.
PTE academic especially.
But just making sure that you're able to recognize those words when they are spoken as well. It might be one thing to be able to read them, and recognize them when they're written down, but to be able to recognize their pronunciation, really important.
Yeah, okay. So let's just reflect on those questions now as we go through our method for this task.
Very good. So what is the first part of the method then?
Well, you have 10 seconds before the listening begins. And in those 10 seconds, obviously, you have not a lot of time, but you do have some time for you just to really skim through those 4 answer options and try and get a sense of the gist. So you might look through the 4 answer options and go, okay, there's a common theme here, a common theme being mentioned here, okay. Now I'm aware about what the gist could be. I'll be listening out for that information. And of course, if you get the gist down, then that's part of the process done already. If you've got an understanding of the gist, then you can obviously focus on the key details as well as some of the supporting details as well while you're listening for that information. So 10 seconds, just read through, get an understanding of the gist, maybe pick out some key words and use that to predict what might be coming in the recording.
Definitely,
afterwards.
So reading those summaries, you're obviously going to have a good idea of what the topic is before it even begins. So that's good. Precisely. Okay, so that's everything for listening. Simply skim. You simply don't have enough time to read through all of those summaries in detail. So don't even try. You don't have enough time. You only have 10 seconds. So just get ready to listen and take your notes.
If you did have enough time, it would make this task far too easy as well. I can predict, okay, what's going to happen. I've listened to that, I've heard that, but no, you don't. So just try and pick up on the main topic as well as some interesting vocabulary that might just stick out in your mind. Maybe a key word or something. You might remember that very well. And then you'll hear or you won't hear it in the listening itself.
Definitely. Okay, so then what about during the listening?
So during the listening, remember the listening recording will last between 30 and 90 seconds. So obviously a recording that's 30 seconds will be considerably easier unless the topic is very difficult than a 90-second recording. So you need to get on the ball straight away with your listening and your note taking. You should be taking down notes consistently throughout this task. You should not be reading the summaries while you are listening.
No.
And why is that a bad idea to read while you listen?
But it's going to distract you completely from the details that you're hearing in the listening. And as we said, like every summary could be 40 to 60 words. So it's just, there's too much to read. You can't read all that and try and focus on the listening at the same time. So just leave it be and then focus on your listening and taking notes.
That might be like a panic response for some students too, going, well, I need to be absolutely sure while I read, while I listen. Maybe I'm not very confident with my listening, but you realize that if you are reading while you're listening, then you're not going to be listening effectively. And also, how are you going to be able to assess all 4 summaries with reading and listening at the same time? You're going to be focused on one, maybe. You might get one done well. You might realize, okay, that might be an answer. Well, that's definitely not an answer. What about the other 3 that you haven't listened to or assessed? then you go into that blind and select those 3 answers. So it's not an effective method for doing this overall.
Yeah. You only hear this once, so you need to be able to take notes so that you can recall those. Obviously, the notes will assist your memory as well. You might remember things by simply looking at some of the words you have written. So for during the listening, it's really important that you have an effective note-taking system, such as, abbreviations that you commonly use when you're taking your notes. Do you use symbols or arrows? How do you really understand the overall, how the idea was developed throughout the text?
Which is very important. So obviously it's simple to take down some abbreviated terms or symbols to note certain words, but that's only part of the system you need to develop. You need to develop also ideas and symbols, ideas through symbols that also reflect the relationship of the ideas, what a certain word means, how it's important or how it's not important.
And how it connects to something else. Yeah, definitely.
So there's no single system for doing that. Obviously there are some ideas you can take, but we can't go into detail about a note-taking system here. That would just confuse you, us talking about random words and what symbols they are. We just recommend that you develop your own system via research online and do whatever works for you. But it is important though, not only take down your own symbols, but also if you are taking down symbols instead of writing words, then you are also saving a lot of time as well. So a long convoluted word or ideas can be just assessed with a few symbols, for example, as well, which then really associates, what frees up your time to be doing more listening and less writing.
Hi all, we're going to grab a quick cup of coffee. While we're gone, go to pte.swooshenglish.com and grab your free PTE starter course, a gift to get you started on your PTE preparation. That's pte.swooshenglish.com for your free PTE starter course. Yes, definitely. So don't try and write full sentences, things like that. You don't have time for that. And if you are concentrating on one sentence, well, then you're not listening to the next point.
Precisely.
Yeah, so then what about listening for signposting?
This is very important. So obviously we talked about how you be listening and not reading, and you be taking effective notes. But what about the organization of a lecture? How can we understand what we need to take down for a lecture? Well, let's first start talking about what you need to be listening out for in the lecture. So what is an effective summary? An effective summary is obviously the condensation of a long listening text into a short passage. So really you're basically narrowing it down to about 20 to 30% of the main content. So what ideas will be in that summary and what will be omitted? Well, you're looking out obviously for the main gist, the key topic, and the key ideas. What will be omitted from a main summary typically?
Really specific details.
Supporting details and specific details. Yeah. So they will typically not be in the summary, at least in not a lot of detail, because they need to be omitted. So you need to understand exactly what the main topic is and what the key ideas were, as well as obviously taking a note of the supporting details so you know where they can be applied and not applied on the good summary versus the bad summary. So that's where signposting words come in. Signposting phrases are words to denote but what will be coming next in the lecture, to give it structure and to basically give the listener an idea of how it's going to progress and why this point is important versus this point not being important.
Yeah.
So if a lecture was to begin with something like, today I want to talk to you about blah, 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 what would be the point that might follow on from that?
So, of course, the point to follow on from that is the main topic.
Would be the main topic.
What the lecture is going to be about.
Okay. And that obviously will come at the very start of the lecture. That's nice and easy. But the lecture may also allude to that main point, those main points throughout the lecture as well, by saying something like, the first point I want to emphasize is, firstly, the second point I want to emphasize is, secondly, and now I want to talk about blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, so that's the key details then.
Those would be the key
separating
details.
Off from the main topic.
Yes, those would be the key details. So if you hear phrases like that, then you know that the topic is going to follow as well as the key details. And those key details will be in the main lecture, or that will be in the best summary overall.
They're going to be important.
Listen out for those signposting words just to focus in your attention about what's going to come next. Often you'll have to write it down. What if you hear words like, for instance, for example, also, furthermore? What details would they denote?
So they are giving more examples or specific details, supporting details for the main points. Yeah.
And do you think it's still important for students to note down these supporting details?
Yeah, I think so. Sometimes they can still be included in the summary, even perhaps just one of them, to give a very quick example.
Yes.
Think about a summary as well as, someone who hasn't perhaps listened to the lecture or hasn't heard it, and you're going to try and give them a good idea of what was discussed. So you might include one or two small examples.
True. And also it's very important to take down a note of the supporting examples, because more than likely one of the summaries will have an over-reliance of supporting examples. And then you can eliminate that example as a correct best summary, because you know the supporting details, and also you know that it's included too many of those. So that's why it's a good idea to still take a note of these supporting details.
Yeah.
It's all about understanding how it's all organized. So, also emphasize, listen out for speakers' pauses as well. That will often be a break between one main point and the beginning of the second. And just listen to the signposting words and how they flow in the lecture overall, so you can get those details.
Definitely. And the more you listen to lectures like this, of course, the more you'll be able to recognize the signposting language. And, you will know straight away, oh, this point's coming up. Right, need to take a note about this,
Okay, so we pretty much emphasize that, listen to your signposting words, have an effective note system, do not read you listen.
Don't try to read a system. 40 to 60 words, it's too much.
It's too much. Okay, and also multiply that by 4. That's quite a lot of words.
You're not going to get it right.
All right, so you've done that effectively. You've now come on to the post-listening section, which you have about 30 to 60 seconds, depending how long you need, to complete your selection of your accurate summary.
Yeah.
What can we go through to make sure that the student has picked the right summary?
So obviously now you're going to really use the notes that you have taken, hopefully, effectively, and that you're not able to understand your notes, and you're going to use those notes in order to eliminate or validate one of the answer options.
All right. What would be the first thing a student should do when they're assessing their summaries?
So eliminate any options which simply have incorrect information.
Yeah, that would be the most obvious thing to pick out first. Yeah, for sure.
So perhaps, like we said, there's a statistic, or there's even the topic is wrong, or, something like this. And you're like, oh, that wasn't even mentioned in the summary, or that is incorrect.
Could be incorrect main details, incorrect statistics, as Una says. They will be the most obvious things that you can pick out more than likely. And that will be a good way for you maybe to knock off at least one summary to begin with. Then leaving in for 3 for you to choose from. So you eliminated the first summary, which is incorrect information. The second summary you should eliminate is a summary that doesn't include the main information which you have included. So maybe some of the stuff has been omitted. Overall, you think, okay, well, that can't be right. I'm pretty certain I followed that signpost word and it made an obvious reference to one of these main points here. But, oh, no, I haven't. That hasn't been included. Okay, well, then I'm pretty certain that that's not a great summary as well.
So by that, do you mean that the summary focuses too much on one aspect?
Yes, it might focus on one aspect overall. It doesn't include that second aspect. So there could be 2 main points in a given lecture. The one summary is focused on one main point and then given lots of supporting examples. And you realize, okay, it's completely omitted this main point, which is obviously not an effective summary then.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, summary is all about being able to give a good overview of the whole listening audio.
Yes.
Not simply one particular point that was talked about. So that will come up. That comes up where it's summarized too specifically on one particular point. So make sure that it is touched on all of the main points or important points throughout the lecture.
Precisely. Yeah. And then finally, we recommend then that obviously you've eliminated you might have one summary left at this point. You might be comparing between 2 summaries. Obviously, you might think that both include the main information, but which have included too many supporting examples. So that'd be a third thing that you look at when choosing your summary. Okay, well, I know that these are the main topics, and there isn't really a mention of a main topic here, or maybe it's emphasized too much of the supporting details, which doesn't make an effective summary after all. A summary has to remove that secondary information and then keep in the main points overall.
Definitely.
So that would be the 3 things you would look at.
Yeah, so incorrect information, maybe focusing on one aspect more than the other, or including too many supporting details.
Over-reliance on supporting details. Then you just simply select your answer and move on. Click next and do it all again for your next highlight correct summary prompt.
Definitely, and hopefully you will have validated that answer option and feel confident about it.
All right. So what would be our main takeaway from this podcast on maybe 3 good tips that students should emphasize to improve their score for this task?
So definitely practicing your note-taking style and your note-taking skills, really important for this task. At the end of the day, those notes are going to be crucial for you to use in order to, validate or eliminate an answer option. You can't just rely on your memory, unfortunately.
Oh, impossible. No, it's just too much to remember in that time.
You need to make sure you have a good note-taking system, abbreviations or whatever it is, whatever it works best for you.
Let's practice and hone that in your own time.
Yeah. And then another one?
Well, of course, we mentioned how important it is for this task is just really being able to recognize signposting words in language. Do your own research into that. Understand and practice a variety of signposting language that denotes a topical detail is coming, a main point is coming, and also supporting language is coming too, as well as language which suggests that a lecture is coming to its end as well. So obviously a lot of these words are synonymous with each other. They can be directly translated as well from one into the other. So make sure that you spend your time just recognizing that language and listening out for it. And see if you can apply that to your own listening, to finding those main points in detail. So obviously PTE makes it very easy for you to do that, but you can also do it in your own time as well by listening to academic lectures.
Definitely. And yeah, so actually writing your own summaries as well is really a really good tip, So
I agree.
Listen to different audios, and of course this will help you with summarized spoken text as well.
Yeah, so these two, summarized spoken text and highlight correct summary, actually complement each other very well.
Yeah.
And one, you are listening and summarizing a lecture in terms of its summarized form. The other one, you're writing your own summary too. So you could actually look at the summaries that are included in highlight correct summary and use that as a basis for summarized spoken text as well.
Yeah, exactly. Look at, what is a good summary? What is it? What is a bad summary? What's included too many supporting details? Asking yourself these questions. So yeah, if you are actually able to write summaries yourself, then that will help you recognize good summaries.
Yeah, precisely. So do these in recognition of each other, and often they will complement each other very nicely.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, I guess that's 3 top tips for highlight correct summary. And I really hope that you managed to find this podcast very useful today, and you got some great advice for moving forward with highlight correct summary to improve your own ability to basically find that correct summary. I'll say it one more time. Highlight correct summary.
Yes, thanks for joining us today, guys, and we will see you again soon.
Take care.
Bye.
Are you struggling with your PTE exam preparation? Are you unsure how to get that score of 65, 79, or even 90? Let us help you get there. Please go to pte.swooshenglish.com and enter discount code PTE10 in order to receive 10% discount on any course.